What's up, everybody? My name's David Caldwell. I'm here with Krista, Britton. We are real estate professionals in the Portland metro area. Today, we're going to be talking about what happened in January of 2026 in the Portland metro area, what we think is going to happen in Q1. The good news is we're 36 months, a little bit more into this high interest rate market, and we have clearly defined trends. 2025 was another year of basically 2024 and 2023. Most likely 2026 is going to be similar. That's what we're going to talk about today as we recap what happened in January. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a home in 2026, hopefully we're going to be able to provide you some decent insights. I have some charts, so prepare to geek out with us.
Charts, let's go.
So where we always like to start is in the average sales price. Now, if you're just getting like clips of data from the MLS and other real estate professionals, if you zoom in, average sales price in January was $568. The median sales price was $510,000. That is a sharp decline from January last year. But we'll talk about, why that's the case. Many times in December and January, you see the larger homes in the market be removed. November, December, January, even sometimes February. The larger homes are removed. When we zoom out, we think real estate's an asset you have to zoom out to look at value, but zoom in for your strategy of buying and selling. If we zoom out for 36 months, you basically have the average sales price bouncing somewhere between $600,000 and $610,000. We had less than 1% appreciation last year, but there was still appreciation. We had a little bit over 1% appreciation in 2024. In 2023, we had a year of decline, a little bit over 2%. That was the fifth year in a 30-year period that you'd had home sales prices decline. Most likely this year will bounce right around the average sales price we had last year. Most likely, we believe it'll be flat, or that's what I believe. We can see what Krista's belief is on that. With something that's flat, it could bounce on either side by 1% or 2%. But the market has shown us that it is remarkably stable at the averages. Krista, do you have any thoughts on average sales price?
No, I think you covered it there. Basically, I think everyone's first thing they want to know is, right, the average sales price. Has it gone down? Has it gone up? Everyone wants to know what their equity is, right? Like, what is my equity this year based on that average sales price? So depending on when you bought, you might have equity, you might be low, you might be stable, you might have less. It all depends.
Okay, so let's talk about new listings. Do you want to read the new listing section, or do you want me to read it?
I want you to do it.
Okay. So in January, there were roughly 2,100 new listings that came to the market. In December, there were 1,000. We know in December, not a lot of people are going to list their house for sale. So it feels like a big increase. Like the headline is, there's a 100% increase. I saw that on one real estate agent's page. Who cares, right? Like, it's January. The year is resetting. We're going into this new season. January is a little heavier for listings than December. But, what's important is to look at what the seasonal trend is. And if we look, it's almost exactly the same as the last 3 years. Before we get into what happened in the last couple of years, I do want to show you just a 10-year look at new listings. So let me get this up here. This will be a little
check
bit
out this chart
recap as well.
Just be amazed with this chart.
So this is what 10 years of new listings in the Portland metro area look like. So the average, we're seeing that average line actually start to fall because we've had 3 years where new listings look almost exactly the same. Right? When we're talking about a couple hundred more listings than the year before, it's not dramatic. But what we're used to seeing really is close to 40,000 homes come to the market. Now we're seeing 30,000. Some people could talk about that being a shortage of new listings. I think it's just translating into less people transacting. We'll look at pending sales here in a second, just to do a quick little blip. But, what are we seeing, right? The last 3 years, a very consistent annual trend. Let's go down and look at pendings real quick. Very consistent annual trend over the last 3 years. The big thing, if we look at pendings, is if we just skip ahead real quick to January pendings, there were roughly 1,700 pending sales. Now, last month there were over 4,000 homes listed for sale. I think almost 5,000. Actually, let's be accurate. 4,785 was the average number of listings on the market, with 1,700 going pending. Hey, what do we see in the last 3 years? We don't even average 2,000 pending home sales a month, but we average quite a few more listings. So that's something to think about. Hey, let's just go look and see what happened quarterly for new listings, pending sales, closed sales over the last 3 years. It is almost identical. This is the point I want to go through. I guess we're proving it really quick, so this can be a short show. We have clearly defined seasonal trends in the Portland metro area for a high interest rate market. But David, Krista, what happens if interest rates fall? Aren't buyers going to flood the market? In 2025, we went from an average of 7 to an average of 6 by the end of the year, and pending sales barely budged because if affordability isn't improved by declining interest rates. The decline in interest rates doesn't matter. I know that's a hot take, but we saw a 1% decline in mortgage rates, and the market barely budged. So for all those real estate agents shouting from the mountaintops that if interest rates go down 1%, the market's going to explode, you guys were wrong. You're wrong, because it doesn't matter if affordability isn't improved. So I know that was really easy, but
what's going to improve affordability, David? Like what do we need to see? Like, I feel like people need to keep hearing this. What do we need to see for affordability to improve? Like, this is something that I think needs to be instilled in people's brains right now. Like, what you need to see for affordability to change.
It's not just mortgage rate. Everyone wants to go, it's just mortgage rate. Affordability is mortgage rate against the annual income of someone in our community, against the average sales price in our community, creates an affordability number. Actually, it's the median sales price, which is much lower than the average. But I have a chart for that too. I think the question is, right, what will bring housing prices down? How likely is it that permit costs in the Tri-County area go down, Krista?
Yeah, I mean, the government really wants to lower costs for small businesses.
Zero?
Yeah.
What are the odds that the people in the trades, the electricians, the roofers, the siders, the general contractors, what's going to bring their pricing down? Right? I mean, very, very low. Okay, so now we're talking about building, renovating houses. We know the cost isn't going to go down. Unfortunately, our state is not very good at raising the average income of someone in our state. That is something that we would need to see to increase affordability. In the short term, when we look at 2020's outlook for that, doesn't seem awesome. I think if we went around and surveyed people in the community and said, what's the likelihood you get a 5 to 10% raise this year? If we're just being honest, most people aren't going to see that. That's something that impacts affordability. Hey, the average sales price of a home impacts affordability. What have we seen happen over the last 36 months for home values? They've essentially been flat in a marketplace that probably should have seen bigger declines. I mean, declines, right?
Yeah.
But I think when you go from averaging 5% appreciation to flat, that's a decline, right? Like, that's a big shift. Over 30 years, we've averaged 5% appreciation. In the last 3 years, we've basically got none. That is a shift. But pricing would have to decline to create affordability. And then the last one is mortgage rates. But we saw mortgage rates decline and affordability was still really challenged. So let me get out my affordability chart so we can look at it. So this is what 10 years of affordability looks like in the Portland metro area. And this is based on the median sales price against the average mortgage rate that month for each quarter. So affordability looks really good in December. But what was the median sales price in December? $535. What's the average sales price in the Portland metro area for the last 3 years? A little bit over $600. So this chart has a little bit of toxic positivity built into it, right? If we just look at it, it's well-meaning, but we got to look and say, well, if this were built on averages, it would look much different. Hey, what happened between 2016 to 2022? The way I like to explain it is the average person comes in to the median price home in the Portland metro area, and not only could they afford the payment if they're shopping for a home, they could afford it with a surplus. In a marketplace like that, you get home appreciation. What happened since then, the last 3 years? Well, unfortunately, the average person walks in to the median priced home, and they can't afford it. They're at a deficit for that payment. What's happened to home sales prices and buying in the Portland metro area since that time? Well, the market has shifted on average sales price barely anything, but the gap between new listings and pending sales has gotten wider. So there's just more homes being left unsold. So what will fix affordability? Really, the best mechanism is going to be mortgage interest rate. But mortgage interest rates really have to see a low 5%, if not a high to mid 4% range, really to create a robust market. And that's where, if you're thinking about being a spring or summertime home seller and you're crossing your fingers for a drastically different market, it's time to let go of that hope. If that happens, it'd be wonderful. But really, it's time to think about your strategy. And what do you do to prepare to have success in this marketplace? Some homes, it's all about price. Some homes, it's more about positioning and condition. There isn't a blanket answer for every house. I mean, Krista, when you see a house right now that has high days on market, what's the number one question a buyer asks?
Why hasn't that house sold? What's wrong with it?
Yeah, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
I had a client ask me yesterday, what's wrong with this house in this great neighborhood? Well, I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. It could be a crappy floor plan. It could be condition. But one thing I'm trying to remind my home buyers of, because usually they're home sellers too, is there are not enough buyers in this marketplace due to affordability to buy every home. Is demand strong? Do people want to move? Sure. Demand doesn't matter when people can't buy what they can't afford, right? Doesn't matter. Online views don't matter to a certain extent. I mean, they do in certain places, but the market's littered with homes that have gone viral and haven't sold. Just to let you guys know, if you're watching this, you might have a viral realtor that's good at getting clients from Instagram, but viral listing videos very rarely sell a house. Very rarely. It's the great lie of the real estate industry. A well-priced home marketed, through the MLS that gets out to everybody looking. There's no marketing that beats that. You want representation more than you want project management and virality on Instagram. Okay, thoughts, Krista?
So right now, my first thought is if you're wanting to buy or you're wanting to sell, let's say you're like, hey, when's the best time for me to sell? What should I be doing right now to prep my house to sell, right? I've got a lot of people that you come into the new year and you say, hey, okay, I'm motivated. This is the year. This is the year I'm going to sell my house. What do I need to do? So I've been going and I've been meeting with my potential sellers who also then want to buy. And a lot of people are going to need to be contingent and things like that. And it's all about home prep. It's getting your house ready to sell, right? It's all that deferred maintenance that you haven't had a chance to do. It's that touch-up paint. It's getting the landscaping dialed in. It's all those little projects that everyone's been putting off, right? To make the house show ready. Because you have to remember with affordability, when people are buying, a lot of times they're buying at their max and they have to take into account that they can't come in and fix everything. They don't have the money. The affordability is not there. So by you prepping the home and having it ready, you're setting yourself up to succeed more than a seller who just throws their house on the market, didn't do any of the necessary things to start with, and then, let's just be real, overprices the home, right? Because they want to test the market.
And I think one thing that, home sellers need to acknowledge or think about when they're selling their home today, and maybe there is deferred maintenance or things that need to be done, they want to leave for someone else. Someone might take it, someone might not. We don't know until you're actively in the process. But one thing to consider is if you're not successful right out the gate, is that in this marketplace, in this country today, people spend a higher percentage of their income on housing than they ever have in the past. But I had a 12% interest rate in this year. It doesn't matter. You didn't spend this percentage of your income on housing. People spend a higher percentage of their income on housing today when they're buying today than anyone ever has in the past. And that is just a condition for a more challenging sale. Now, someone might be watching this and you have a killer home in a killer neighborhood where everything sells multiple offers in a minute. Disregard what I just said, because those homes exist. But
unicorn
those
homes
in neighborhoods, those sales conditions aren't indicative to a good or bad market. Warren Buffett says, buy a great company with great leadership at a good value. He doesn't even care if it's a low price, right? That's what you own, right? It's like owning a great company. You own a great house in a great neighborhood. And by the way, if you're a buyer, that's a house you want to buy.
That's it.
And by the way, you're probably not going to get a deal on it. But if you want a deal, there's tons of other homes in the marketplace to go create one on.
And here's the thing, buyers, that I'm just reminding you right now, when you're going out to buy, remember one day you're probably going to want to sell this house. And so it might be worth buying the home that maybe has the multiple offers or is in that great location because those houses go so fast, right? And so for you, it might be just be timing. Wait for the right house in the good location. You can always update a home. You can always change things about a home. You can't change the location of a home. So for me, when I'm looking for investment properties or when I'm looking for myself, the location is the most important thing because I am constantly thinking of resale. And that's something that buyers tend to, they get excited sometimes and forget. And then when we go to sell their home, they get frustrated.
Yeah. So let's just do like in the next 90 days, you're a buyer, because we just talked about sellers. In the next 90 days, and I guess we talked about buyers too, for location. But like what are you looking for? How are you just advising clients that are shopping in today's market?
So the first thing I'm telling buyers is they need to, especially if they haven't done this in a while, it's the ones that don't know what they can afford. Because I think right now people get really surprised when they go meet with a mortgage broker and they're like, oh, wow, what's my monthly payment going to be? What type of loan do I need to get? So that is the first thing you need to do, right? Is go figure out what price point you want to be shopping in, because I say there's sticker shock. There's a lot of sticker shock for people, right? And one of the things I'm advising people, if that's really important to them and they're interested in new construction, I would go look at new construction because they're able to offer those lower incentives and they're offering a lot of incentives and they're also offering lower interest rates depending on the builder. For the poor resale houses, that's making it really hard for them to compete with. So one of the things you have to remember is like you might buy this new house over here and you get that lower interest rate, but do you get all the stuff? Do you get the window treatments? Do you get all the other things that are out-of-pocket expenses? So those are things you need to balance and just figuring out your priority, right? So that's the first thing I'd say. And just start shopping around and looking. It's important to be looking because once you've looked at, let's say, 10 houses in 10 different areas, and then you find that house that you really like and you see the price, you're going to know if it's a good deal, if it's a bad deal, if it's overpriced. It's educating yourself.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things is you have to go in a good house to recognize a good house. You have to go into a bad house to recognize a bad house, and that might be floor plan or condition. And you have to go educate yourself on the market so you can be an educated shopper or negotiator, right? Hey, I know this is a great property, so I'm willing to pay a premium for it. I know this property looks like it sucks, but if I just do this, this, and this, it looks like this one that actually sold at a premium a while ago. Or, man, just being like, this is a house I would never buy, right? And I think, I asked you this question today, what is the gap between sellers and buyers in this marketplace? And it's close to 10,000 homes. I mean, that is a humongous amount of inventory. That is about 1 in 3 homes listing for sale, not selling. And that is either, well, it's always price, right? Because at a certain price, someone will always buy. But it's price and condition of these homes. So I think you're right. Like going out and looking at the inventory is really important. And if you're a seller, considering what the inventory is, what's your competition? What else could someone buy? Would I buy my house at the current list price and current payment?
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I mean, that's one of the things I know when we go talk with sellers, we're like, just so you know, if someone buys your home at this price point with, let's say, this much down, this is how much their monthly payment's going to be. Would you pay that much to live here? And think about that while we are pricing your home and getting it ready and what it should look like.
Yeah. And hey, by the way, if you hit the market right and you're one of those great homes that sells fast, none of this stuff matters. Yeah. But this stuff really matters when you've been on the clock for 60 days. You've been on the clock 90 days. And actually, we have one more chart. So let's talk about months of inventory before we shut it out here, because we almost just skipped right over it.
Don't want to miss a chart.
Months of inventory. We started out this year at 4.3 months. Now, the good news is normally that is going to be lower the next couple months. We'll see, right? But, months of inventory, we look at it as like, how crowded is the marketplace? This is the pace of sales. There's new homes coming to the market. There's new buyers coming to the market. Are we on the freeway in traffic where no one's really moving that fast? Or are we on the freeway and it's kind of clear and everyone's just moving, getting to their destination? If there's 1 month of inventory, we're all moving to our destination. Even when housing prices are going up, buyers are happy, right? That's where you see pricing going up. At 4 months, some agents want to say this is a neutral market. There's nothing neutral about it. This is a buyer's market. The buyers have the leverage unless you hit the market right and have really low days on market. This is a buyer's market at 4 months. Buyers and sellers are not moving together, right? there is some opposition. But let's look at the last 15 years of inventory. Here's where we are today, the highest level since, January of 2013 or around here. Yeah, somewhere over here. Now, hey, this is coming out of the Great Recession. 7 months of inventory, right? What did we see in 2012? A decline in home values. COVID dip, no inventory. Buy a lifetime supply of pizza. I'll name my kid after you if you sell me your house. Crazy weird stuff. 2022. Hey, here's these seasonal bends of inventory, but inventory is increasing. On an annual basis, inventory's been increasing, but we know demand is not. Demand is incredibly stable. This is something to look out for this year if you're a home seller. If you're a buyer, beautiful news. Negotiate those higher days on market properties. Hey, maybe one seller says no, 10 won't, right? You have a list of 5-6 houses you like, someone's going to give you a deal, By the way, most people don't shop like that. They just buy the house they like. And
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of emotional.
Yeah. But understanding this marketplace is how you can create better discounts. So if you guys are thinking about doing something this year, we're easy to get a hold of. hello@hillshirerealtygroup.com. Email us. We'd love to talk with you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.